Sex is fun. So much fun, in fact, that many people are willing to pay for it. But this is illegal. So why is it illegal to do something fun that brings no harm to the consenting parties? What makes this illegal is the combination of two specific conditions: that there is an exchange of money, and that the act is not recorded and put online, because if it were put online, it would be considered pornography, which is legal. The first step in legalizing and regulating sex work, which will make it safer for the workers, is accepting and destigmatizing sex work and those who perform it. The main reason sex work is so taboo is because sex itself is taboo. As soon as we realize that sex is normal, healthy, and not bad or sinful, we can begin taking steps in order to destigmatize sex work and sex workers. One of the biggest ways we can remove the taboo from sex is by providing quality sex education in our country. Educating people about their bodies will help demystify sex and, by extension, sex work. This is especially true of educating people about the female body, since there is so much misinformation spread through the sex education. Especially the myth that the more partners a woman has had, the looser and less appealing she becomes to future partners. Comparing women to pieces of tape, old running shoes, or pieces of gum are very common analogies that are used. The negative effects of bad sex education are very prevalent in many states. Increasing emphasis on abstinence-only sex education also increases the rates of teenage pregnancy and STD rates. But the positive effects of good sex education are also very prevalent in some states. In 1992, California had the highest teen pregnancy rates in the nation. But after passing a comprehensive sexual health act, that number declined by half, and teenage abortions dropped by nearly 2/3. When in St. Louis, when provided with free contraceptives and contraceptive counseling through the Choice program, the teens that were in that program had an annual abortion rate of 9.7 per 1,000 versus the national average of 41.5 per 1,000. Comprehensive sex education is incredibly important to demystifying and destigmatizing sex. So now that we've taken that step, it's time to talk about removing stigma from sex work. In order to get closer to legalizing sex work, we must first accept sex workers as people and valid, valuable members of society. Sex workers are humans who deserve protection and deserve to exercise bodily autonomy. Criminalizing adult, consensual sex, including sexual favors in exchange for money, does not align with the human right to bodily and personal autonomy. Bodily autonomy includes a person's right to use their body and abilities in order to make money, for example, manual labor and pornography. Criminalizing sex work also can lead to abuse and exploitation by law enforcement and sex workers' clients. Sex workers frequently face harassment, extortion, or physical, verbal, or sexual abuse by law enforcement officers. And sex workers can't seek justice for the crimes committed against them, like sexual assault, robbery, or personal injury. FOSTA and SESTA, Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, and the Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act, were two bills that were supposed to help decrease sex trafficking, but instead it has only increased the risks for sex workers. It puts sex workers back out onto the streets, and it makes it more dangerous for them to meet clients and ensure their safety and compensation. And there's also no evidence that the law has actually done anything to prevent sex trafficking. The legalization or decriminalization of sex work can have a significant impact on mitigating these issues. Legalizing sex work can help decrease STDs, HIV, and abuse towards sex workers. It will improve access to health services because it increases condom and contraceptive use by sex workers, and it also enables sex workers to organize appropriate and accessible health services for themselves. It will also help to decrease the rate of STDs and HIV, since sex workers will be empowered and enabled to insist that clients use condoms. The legalization or decriminalization could also lead to legislation that makes sex workers get tested frequently for STDs and STIs. Decriminalization has, quote, the greatest potential to reduce HIV infections in female sex workers' communities, end quote. It will also improve a sex worker's access to justice. It will allow sex workers to turn to police without the fear of prosecution, and it decreases the rates of violence and sexual assault against them. Along with all of this, it also allows for an effective response to human trafficking. There is no evidence that countries with criminalized sex work have lower rates of human trafficking than those with criminalized or with decriminalized or legalized sex work. New Zealand decriminalized sex work in 2003 and has done some of the most effective work against human trafficking in the world. It allows sex workers to collaborate with police without fearing criminal penalty as well, so they can help whenever it comes to sex trafficking. So, in conclusion, although sex work is largely seen as bad, it's because it's largely stigmatized, especially in media. There are many ways in which you can help with removing the taboo. If you do your own research and read testimonies by sex workers in order to educate yourself on the topic, that helps immensely. And you can also support sex workers' organizations locally and intersectionally. Thank you.